Hi, and welcome to CyberOne Certification and Training. If you're here for training today, but you're interested in learning more about how you can become a qualified CyberOne expert through our certification program, just reach out to your account manager if you're an existing client, or you can email us at support@cb1security.com. Okay, let's get started with the training. So today we're looking at our tabs section again and the different reference tabs that you have in the CyberOne application. And we're going to be showing you how you can add to the obligations library, our reference library of regulations and standards on the platform. So let's get started by getting into our application platform. Okay, so here you'll see that I'm in the platform. I'm actually in the policy management module today, but again, remember that all of our tabs here are accessible using the plus sign. So we don't need to be in a specific module here today. We just need to find the obligations tab. And so there are a couple of ways we can add obligations to the CyberOne application. We can do this via a bulk upload, and we'll show you how to do this in a separate training. But today we're going to focus on doing it in the app itself. So let's start by clicking this button, New Obligation, and that's going to get us started. And so then what we're going to do is we would name our obligation. And this could be anything. This could be a requirement that we want to add that's a regulation from an external party or a standard like from the NIST organizations. Or these could be internal requirements to the company that we want to add as rules for our own internal compliance. Okay, so I'm going to do the name. We can give it a version if there is a version. And then we might want to describe it as well. Then once we've done that, we can simply click Save, and that's going to create our initial obligation record. Next, then we want to add the different sections to our records. So I'm just going to click New Obligations section. And notice here that right now we have error where there is map to internal control, and that's just because we don't have any internal controls mapped to this. Once we start mapping our internal controls, after we've built out our control library, that error sign will go away and that will become a number. And also note that we have no control library mapped here, but we're going to do that as part of this process today. Okay, so we'll start by adding an obligation section then. So again, we just want to add this, and maybe this is the access management requirement part of our internal edition. And then we'll give that a content source. I'm going to just give it that demo 2020-01, and we can describe it again if we wish, just to make sure we know we have the right reference points here. And if you're using an external regulation, it's quite likely that there'll be a section description in that regulation document. All right, so forgive my typing. Then we can just save that, or if we want to add multiple sections, we can do Save and New and just keep going. Or there you see we've got our one section description here that we've added to our obligation here. And again, remember with CyberOne, you can always navigate back. So this link here will take us back to that obligation record we've created. But now we have created our section description. What we want to do then is start to add our controls. So I'm going to click New Control Library. And very much the same process. What we want to do here is make sure we fill in all of the required fields. Remember, we have these slashes to indicate required fields. And so we're going to go ahead and do this, and we can give it a description. Maybe it's passwords, this one. And note that it's already tagged to the section that you've created. So it will automatically populate in that section. Then again, we just want to give it a reference content source here so that we can find it later on in our control library or as we're reviewing our obligation at a later date. And now what you can do here, if you want, you can copy and paste this. But as you can see from as I was typing earlier, These fields also have a memory and they will drop down, so you can which is especially helpful for building out list views, as I'll show you in a second. So here I've created my first control. I don't need to populate any of these other areas. I can if I want to. If I want to attach a test or test plan, if I want to talk about the risk related to this control, so on and so forth. But I'm just going to click Save and New because I'm now going to start building out my list of controls. So if I click Save and New, that's going to automatically take me to a new control record. And as you can see, when I start typing, it'll drop down for me. And there, I already did this earlier, so I'm just going to continue and keep going, so on and so forth. So there, if I do Save and New again, I can just use that drop down and I can change it to 3. Add my description, and then same thing with the content source. And we can just keep going like this until we've added all of the controls that we want to. So now let's go back to our obligation section. And then you'll see here, now we have controls mapped to our obligation section. And if we take that all the way back, or actually just before we go back, you can see here now it's also counted for us, giving us a summary of control libraries mapped. Now we can go back to our obligation record as well. And you see here that the total control library map there is 3 as well. And so once we go into the control library, we could then actually begin to build out our internal control sets and map in our internal controls. Okay, so that's how you add an obligation in-app. It's a very simple process, but there is a faster way to do it, and that's through the bulk upload with a CSV file, and that's in an additional training. And so look for that in our training log, and you can find out how to do that as well. Okay, that concludes our training for today. Thank you.